Before the weather, we're going over to the newsroom and Nicholas Witchell.
Good evening. Several hundred people are now feared dead tonight after a Pan American Airlines jumbo jet crashed near the town of Lockerbie in Dumfries. According to Pan Am, there were 244 people on board the plane. So far, there are no reports of survivors. It's believed there have been a number of casualties on the ground as well. The plane crashed on the outskirts of Lockerbie. Debris fell on a number of houses and a petrol station there. Witnesses have described a huge fireball. The jumbo was flight number 103. It had left London Heathrow at 6:25 tonight, bound for John F. Kennedy Airport in New York. There are understood to have been a number of American servicemen who joined the flight from Frankfurt on board. Mike Donkin reports.
This is the little border town of Lockerbie tonight. The air is thick with smoke, flames and the smell of aviation fuel. A crater 20 feet deep marks the spot near the main Glasgow road where the jumbo jet came down. Pan Am Flight 103 from Heathrow to New York carried 15 crew and 229 passengers. Holidaymakers bound for the States, Americans going home for Christmas. It was just after 7 tonight that the first sign things had gone awfully wrong reached flight controllers.
At about 8 minutes past 7 at the Rescue Coordination Centre here at Edinburgh, it was reported by the Civil Air Traffic Control Authorities that there had been an explosion on the ground, and this coincided with a Pan Am Boeing 747 disappearing from the radar screens.
The jet hit a petrol station, it wrecked houses on the south side of Lockerbie, the fuselage reportedly split in two, and cars on the main Glasgow road were hit by debris. At a hotel in the town, customers heard and saw the crash.
We initially heard a rumbling over the hotel. We thought the roof was falling in. And then we heard a tremendous shudder on the ground as though it was an earthquake. And then we saw sparks and then this enormous ball of flame going about 200 or 300 feet into the air. There was debris flying everywhere.
Some houses on the south side of Lockerbie reportedly all but disappeared. Those whose homes were unhit were mostly making tea at the time of the crash.
Well, it was just about 7 o'clock we heard this almighty bang and the whole skylight. I was looking out in the back kitchen, which looks over onto the A74, and it was the sky lit up, and I heard this explosion. I realised it was a plane coming down, so we just got down on the floor, and as soon as we passed over and we got out and went round about the other houses trying to get a lot of elderly people staying there, so we just more or less to get everybody out and see that we're all right.
Still turning.
I was driving up the road in the car and, I heard this horrible sound. It was like a rushing and a screaming noise, and the whole sky just lit up, and then it was like liquid fire started to rain down on the car, and bits of concrete and debris, and we even found a piece of the aluminium bedded in the car.
What did you do then?
Well, I just accelerated as fast as I could to try and get away from it.
Now over there's an area of houses which it's said to have come down on. Tell us about that area.
That's Sherwood Crescent. It's a sort of loop road that loops off this road and comes back onto the road further up.
How many houses are there?
It's quite a lot. About 20 or 30 houses anyway.
Rescue services in Lockerbie first took the injured and dead to the town hall, where a refugee centre has been set up. There's no word yet on the number of casualties. They're being taken to hospitals, including the Dumfries and Galloway Infirmary, by ambulance and helicopter. The first have reportedly arrived. In other Scottish hospitals, surgeons and blood transfusion services are standing by. This is the latest report we've had from Lockerbie from a BBC reporter.
A police officer showed me around the area which is worst hit, where I saw 6 or 8 houses completely demolished, others still on fire more than 3 hours after the impact. Wreckage and, in fact, bodies are said to be scattered over an area of something like 8 miles. Choking smoke and fumes are still billowing through the town. I saw a massive crater 20 feet deep and 100 feet long, but nowhere have I seen any wreckage more than about 3 foot long. Pieces of aircraft seat and pieces of material are scattered over the entire town. It's like walking through a bomb site. People are standing about in groups, unable to comprehend the scale of the disaster that's descended on this very small town. I saw one woman asking a police officer if he'd heard or seen anything of her husband, and nobody here can imagine that the town will escape with fewer than... do that bit again. And there's...
Well, there are several telephone numbers for more information. Pan American have set up this emergency number. It's 01 from outside London, and the number 897-6333. Let me just repeat that. 01-897-6333. And there are several other numbers as follows. 01-750-9464 and 750-9506. Or 750-9508 or 750-9548. And finally, a number in Glasgow has also been set up, and that number in Glasgow is 041 if you're calling from outside Glasgow, 204-0011. In New York, Pan American have said it is much too early to say what may have caused the crash. As we've heard, the jumbo was at 31,000 feet. It would appear that the pilot had no time to send a distress signal. Some witnesses on the ground have suggested that another aircraft may have been involved, but sources here in London have said that they do not believe that there was a mid-air collision. Buckingham Palace has said tonight that the Queen is shocked and appalled by the disaster. She is being kept informed of the latest news. The Prime Minister has said she is shocked by this terrible disaster and has expressed her deepest sympathies to those who have been bereaved. The Scottish Secretary Malcolm Rifkind is flying tonight to the disaster scene, and the Leader of the House of Commons, John Wakeham, told MPs earlier this evening that the Transport Secretary, Paul Channon, will make a full statement about the crash in the House of Commons tomorrow. The MP for Dumfries, the constituency in which the crash occurred, Sir Hector MONRO, addressed a very sombre House earlier this evening.
This terrible disaster has occurred in the centre of my constituency, and hearts of everyone here, I know, will be with those who have lost their lives and with the relatives and those who are seriously injured, many of whom may be my constituents, as well as those who have been killed in the aircraft. Might I add that I'm fully confident that tonight the rescue services and the health service and the police and the hospital and the fire service will be doing magnificent work to help those who are still alive.
So finally, let me recap. Several hundred people are feared dead after a Pan American Boeing 747 crashed tonight close to the town of Lockerbie in Dumfries. There were 244 people on board. There are no reports of survivors. It's feared there have been a number of casualties on the ground as well. There will be a further news report on BBC1 shortly after midnight, and I will be back with a further report here on BBC2 just before close down.
And details of the plane crash can be found on CFAX, pages 206, 207 and 208. In 3 minutes, the Vincent Minnelli musical Bandwagon. That's after we've joined John Ketley for his Weather View.
Well, a very good evening to you. It looks like staying mild now for the next few days, right up until Christmas Day.